Welcome back to another episode, Responsibledegenerates podcast. I'm your host, Wnba. That's my host, Mel. And today we got a star in the building, Fox 5 leading sports anchor, sideline reporter for the NY Liberty. Also does the news, a pillar in sports media.
I'm good, guys.
Seven-time Emmy Award winner.
Thank you for having me on. That was funny. I appreciate that.
Of course. Tina Cervasio. How you doing, Tina? How you doing? No problem. Before I ask you a question, right? You see, like, your voice was like very, like, I remember it from somewhere, but I don't remember where, you know. So I remember I went to a Liberty game and I seen you talking. I was like, I remember her from somewhere, but I don't know where. Then it hit me one day. I was watching an old game. I was like, the Knicks.
Yep.
Because I used to be, I was
2008
like,
until 2015. I was the Knicks sideline reporter.
So, and I remember you doing the post games and the pre games. I was like, I know I remember her from somewhere. I said, I gotta see if I can get her on my show, you know. And here we are.
So I grew up in a house where my mom was a teacher, and
so,
all of her
that's good to
cousins,
hear.
everybody was in education and coaching. So there were a lot of coaches in my family, and high school and like small Division III. College level. So we as a family would always be going to games. So on Friday night, I would go to my dad's best friend's high school football game. He was my godfather. And then on Saturday mornings, we would go to, Uncle Joe's freshman football. And we would go to Uncle Carl's, softball games in the spring. And that's just what we did. Cousin Mark, basketball, women's basketball. He was a coach many, many years at Caldwell College. So we did that a lot. My dad played college football at Cornell. I mean, it wasn't like Ohio State, but we would go back a lot for college football games, for Ivy League football games. We would go to Cornell. We would go to Princeton when Cornell was playing there, or Columbia. So I was always going to sporting events. And then my grandparents were just big, like either Yankees or Giants fans. So, that's where they were cheering in their seasons. And it goes back to the history of those two teams, right? The iconic history. Yep. So we're talking like my grandfather was a young man who would go see Joe DiMaggio and have box seats. Or my dad's side, my other late grandfather, he was just a huge Giants fan. Bill Parcells was like a god to him. Yeah. So that's kind of the atmosphere I grew up in. But then once I was in college and saw women like Robin Roberts, like Linda Cohn, Hannah Storm, Leslie Visser, Andrea Kramer, when I saw them on TV talking about sports or on the NFL sidelines or leading into NBA games, I was like, wait a minute. And I was studying to be a journalist. I always wanted to be a broadcast journalist, Barbara Walters, Diane Sawyer, that whole thing. I want to cover sports. So that's how I kind of got into that. And I mean, I tried playing as a kid. Not so great. So I'm better talking it than playing it.
All good.
Oh, yeah, that was not fun. Yes. Why would you take that job? I'm like, are you going to pay the mortgage? Because this is the job I got. And it was a huge step up. Because what was happening here in New York is SNY had just started. So they were doing the Mets games. And yes, Network was a couple years in the running. And they had the Yankees games. And you're looking at these constant local broadcasts. You're looking at the dugout reporter / field reporter, sideline reporter. There's no sidelines in baseball, so it's weird to call it that, but dugout reporter, team reporter. And these opportunities were coming up more and more often. And when I had a chance to go for an interview, I'm not going to say no. It's a chance at a full-time job and just another iconic franchise with a rich history and an incredible fan base. And somehow they gave me that job, even though I was from New Jersey, had parents that were, family that was Mets and Yankees fans and was working in New York covering the Mets and Yankees. They still hired me. So it was a great opportunity. Yeah, the family was a little crazy. Yeah.
I can only imagine the conversations and stuff like that. Oh my God.
My husband would, so the first year he was aggravated. So I had a little apartment in Boston. We still had a home in New Jersey. And he would come up wearing his Yankees t-shirt. I'm like, first of all, you're not wearing that to the game because you will get killed. I don't need to be a widow. But he would wear it running out to a Dunkin' Donuts in the morning. And he said it was nasty. It was the reception. So he stopped wearing his Yankees gear in Boston.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I'm disappointed in him, man. See me. I'm a troll. So I'm a troll as far as sports go, So I remember I went to a Eagles game with a Giants jersey on. Cause I just wanted to see what they was gonna do. You know, like I like to get under people's skin. Like even though I'm not a Giants fan, but like I want to see y'all get irritated just by seeing me and seeing New York in the building. You know, so I do that a lot.
That's his
So
personality. He's just like you, Robbie. But
like, like
it was for my safety because people thought I was a Yankees fan. I was really actually technically a Mets fan and an Orioles fan, and I was even afraid to say that going to Boston. And because the Mets beat the Red Sox in that World Series. That's kind of when I first sort of fell in love with the mystique and the magic and the tradition of baseball was during that World Series. I was a little girl watching that, but I was almost afraid to say that. But that wasn't the Mets aren't the problem. It was the Yankees.
Yeah, the Yankees.
Were not the issue. So I was like, I'm safe. Don't hate me.
The Yankees. The Yankees.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna get ready. Andrew Bynum fouls out. We're in Los Angeles. So Bynum fouls out, and this was during the very late Knicks years, one of those 17-win seasons. So because I wanted Bynum. First of all, he had a double-double. He was playing great. This was like the young Lakers, and he grew up in our area. Watched MSG growing up. I had interviewed him a couple times before, and he loved, MSG, this is so cool. I used to watch it as a kid, the whole thing. So Bynum gets no, he doesn't just foul out. He gets double technical. He's out. He's off the court. Double tech.
Yeah,
he's off.
tight.
So it's like 10 seconds left. He's walking off the court. I'm like, oh my God, who should I get now? I'm kind of going to because it was a blowout. And John Black is a former PR person for the Los Angeles Lakers. Oh, I'll get you, Kobe. Hi, Kobe. I'm Tina. I was like, oh my gosh. I barely knew his numbers in that game because I was ready for Andrew Bynum.
Yeah.
So talk about nervous, but he was very kind. It was the one time, and I had been in media scrums with Kobe, especially when he came to MSG. But that was like, boop, right there. And he was very kind. He asked me my name. He said my name in the interview. I will never forget that because he'd be like, well, Tina. And I talked about the team, the young roster, because he was getting up there, and it was, Shaq had already gone, and it was a really nice interview. So yes, I was nervous, and my guys in my ear like, oh my God, it's your first time. I'm like, could you shut up, please? So I was nervous at that. I was also nervous one time when I interviewed Wayne Gretzky. He was at a game. The Knicks were playing in Toronto, and he was there. There was some event at the Hall of Fame, and Gretzky had played at the Garden, the whole thing. Our whole staff knew him and had interviewed him. Our producer, director, all those guys. But I was just really nervous because it was like you're in Toronto, like you're in Canada interviewing the great one. So I was a little nervous about that. But again, the nicest man, so kind. So things like that. And then Michael Jordan, I never had one-on-one with him, but I was at his Hall of Fame induction ceremony, and it was a big group. And just for him to be like that close and to interview him and it was quick. We were only allowed each a question. Right. So I was like, I gotta get my question out and get it out clearly. And I forget what my question was, but it was really neat to just be right there. So those were three that I was legitimately nervous and I remember. And then I feel like you should be nervous because in a sense maybe it's a good anxiety, excited because this is important. You want to be good in that interview. You want to get good answers from the person you're interviewing. So not that I get nervous now, but you get a little bit like, I wonder what this is going to be like, kind of a thing. So it's you still get like that because I'm nervous because I want it to be good and I care. So that's more of this sensation.
So as far as when you doing an interview, right? I
only heard half of your question, but I did have to kind of. So I knew I watched the game, so I asked a couple of game questions. And then the story of the team, and also I was kind of listening to what he said. He was starting to talk about a little bit of his leadership, and then I asked him about some of the. I was like, well, let me ask him about some of the young players, and so I don't remember, but I remember I asked usually we ask 3 questions. I do remember asking him 5.
Yeah, gotta throw in an extra one.
I've got him here, and I was like, we're just gonna keep going here, and I think that's when I threw in, a little. I was like, Bynum's a local guy from our area, had a good game. He did, those young, and he said something about the double technical, a little bit along that, but it was, it was more. But a lot of those, a lot of times for me, my method is I write down the questions so that I know them. I've had thought, mind, write it out, sort of formulate it. But the key is and then I also keep some key topics because the player or coach might say something. You got to listen, and then you have an opportunity to follow up. And those are sometimes the best answers and the best questions. So I have my ideas. You want to hit key points in a game, topics, whatever that might be. And but then sometimes you just come up, you're listening, you're like, oh, why is that? Or when did that happen? Or what made you notice that in the game? So you follow up with a little quick question like that.
Well, the energy was a little off, yeah.
Oh, you're
little
so
off-putting.
that's happened.
Has
There's some
anybody ever
guys I
ever
won't
pissed you
name
off?
the
He's like,
player
Yeah.
because
I
I
don't want
really
this guy
like
no more.
him.
Like,
I'll just say he's in the NFL.
I don't like his answers.
And because I
Yeah,
really like him, he's
like-
a really nice guy, and he's playing really well right now. But he's not in New York anymore. So,
You'll have to.
so he was a tough interview, not because he was a jerk, because he just doesn't say a lot. So I was talking about those follow-up questions. I mean, I couldn't follow up. And his answer, and I was asking I had like my notes, and I was asking all the questions, why, like open-ended, so they could answer it, not yes, no stuff. But somehow he managed to answer them like three words, 4 words, 5 words, something. But it got him to laugh at the end of the interview, and then I snuck a few more questions in, and he was like finally relaxed, like about him being one on my fantasy team. Like, why should tell some fantasy owners why they should keep you? And I got him to laugh, and he was funny. He was funny after that. So yeah, there are those moments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely something. Yeah.
Couldn't imagine. I can definitely imagine, man.
Mm.
Yeah, imagine. Yeah. Because like a lot of nowadays,
And
a
you're
lot of,
looking
like,
for a certain
reporters
answer,
be
like to
asking
stick
some
up for some
questions. I
reporters,
just,
and I'm sure people heard
what
me in
kind
a
of
scrum.
question
It was like, that was
is that?
stupid.
I mean,
But
you know,
you're
they
looking for
wanna know,
certain
maybe
answers, and a
they're
lot
not
of
as
times,
knowledgeable
like the
on
question
what's
is
going
not
on
going
in
to be
the
part of my
game,
story.
whatever.
It's just the answer.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest. I'll be honest about this one. Justin Fields, it was week 1, and I was at Jets practice, and I was just trying to get Justin Fields to like say some things, and he was answering my questions again. Super nice guy, so nice, but real okay. And in fact, I was so happy to see him show personality after this last Jets win. I mean, winning changes everything.
Yeah.
About the special teams. He's like, I don't have to work today. And that was funny to see him do that. Like, oh, he has a personality. But again, nicest guy. But it was hard. And a couple of the writers who are there every day. So beat reporters are there every day. I drop in and drop out. Like if it's a home game, because there's 15 pro teams these days, and I'm doing news. In the middle of the night, so I don't get to practices anymore. So, but the sports writers, the beat writers were like, you were doing a really good job. You were trying. It's just like, that's how he is though. They're like, it's not you. That's just how he answers questions.
Yeah. You gonna hear about it?
Everybody, like New York media is tough, you know.
That's
Like,
the thing.
we
New
got
Yorkers
a
tell the
y'all got
truth,
a
and they
rep
just
of
want
being like the
answers.
toughest in
That,
the
you know,
country.
it's that
y'all-
simple. Like,
y'all-
just tell us
you
the
play
answer.
bad,
We're gonna, and when you're in the
gonna get on you.
atmosphere,
You might
and
not like
the
what we're
writers
saying,
and
but tell the
nobody's
truth.
mean when they're asking these questions. And if
Right.
even if you're not playing great, if you're nice and answer the question and just get to it, and they'll be kinder to you in the way they deliver the story or the report. I mean, you know, so I wish I could just take every guy that comes into New York and tell them that. Because, and there's some great, I mean, there's some like Hall of Famers, like right now,
Exactly.
that are just like great people to interview. They give you the best answers. I sat down with Jermaine Johnson of the Jets yesterday. Thoughtful and tells you stuff, answers your question. And he talked about it like changing over the years and how he's matured recently and his injury. You know, when you go through stuff, you mature. And he was just great. And you know, if everybody could just be like that and kind, and then tough when he had to be with certain answers about, well, I'm not looking at it like that. Like I know that's a bad stat, but you know, so it's good. You know, so there's certain people like that.
And sometimes it's like a process. Like sometimes, you know, it takes somebody, you know, time to kind of process and get comfortable. Because a lot of the times you'll realize like a lot of these people are nervous. They're not like the most like publicly spoken person. Even though they're in the spotlight, sometimes answering questions can make them a bit nervous. So I feel like, you know, as they continue to do it, some will just like lighten up and kind of, you know, just feel more comfortable. But, you know, you got to, in order to go through it, you got to get through it. And sometimes that's how it go.
Exactly.
Yeah. 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 You know what's going to come. You know you're going to have to answer that tough question about that drop pass or that shot, you know, so.
Or you do want to kill your teammate, you can't say.
Losing.
Exactly.
You don't really want to talk when you're losing. Like
Exactly.
Because they're human and they're going to be mad at their teammates. You know, it's a team. It's not an individual sport. Most of these, you know, situations.
Oh,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I bet you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But when they winning, ask them a question. They're gonna be smart from ear to ear. Yeah, Tina. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Tina. I threw the. Tina had a good. Yeah. All right. Like, but it's like you said, they're human. So you know, we get it. You know, we get it. You know, you got 1,000 fans.
Yeah.
Booing you, whatever.
Yeah, you
like
could fix
going
this.
at you either on social media
Definitely.
or in public. So like. So now they think everybody against them. Now we just want answers on why ABC happened or what's going wrong. But you know, Yeah, but then but I know how it goes, man. But we spoke a little bit about your beginning introduction to the sports. Can you tell us like in a
Straight
brief,
up went
like
to college to be a
how did you
broadcaster.
how
So I
did
went to
you
University of Maryland,
how
studied
you the
journalism. That was my
you are
major,
now
broadcast
as
news.
far as like elite sports anchor
I'm having a lot
at
of
this
problems
place
with
at
my
this
audio.
place
I don't know.
news.
I don't know if you guys are getting messed up, but
Now we
you
hear
hear
you
me
pretty
good?
good. Yes, yes.
So definitely knew, like I said, I was in college, saw all of those women on Sports Center, on NBC, on ABC, on Monday Night Football. So I wanted to become a sports broadcaster. And that's just the way I went. I covered sports at Maryland, had my own television sports show, would do radio. So I would be they didn't have like a radio talk show, a sports talk show at the time. They had you were a DJ, you have to a 3-hour shift. And I would have on athletes as guests and I would do sports reports. I would update like, women's field hockey scores and men's basketball, even if the wrestling won, just I would look at any of the sports scores and I would give them and update them for the day. So that was like I was kind of just prepping myself, and from there, I mean, I had a slow, long climb to where I am. I did a lot of production work out of the gate when I first graduated college. Worked in newspaper first. I was a newspaper writer for quite a few months before I was behind the scenes in sports production. But I really learned the ropes. Like I really knew how to do everything because it was hands-on, behind the scenes. Watch some of the best people in broadcasting operate, how they operate. I asked a lot of questions, made a lot of fake. Now today we could hold up our phone and we could do a whole sportscast and it could go live on YouTube and you could, we're TikTok, you get millions of viewers. It was not the case when I was out of college. So I would have to beg the camera crews and go out with the other talent, who are, I'm 21 years old. So, they're significantly older than me. And I'm like, can I just tape a stand-up? I just wanted to tape a report just to see what I looked like and how it sounded. Could you help me? So I would have like fake stand-up days, right? Like bring 3 different outfits out and change and go to a hockey rink and go to a football field and do something at a basketball, on a basketball court or in the stands or something. So I would do a lot of that. And then I just kept making those tapes and I just kept knocking on doors. And it was just, I don't want to bore you guys like with my resume, but
Not
just
at all. We love it. We love it. Yeah, tell your story.
First, my really first on-air stuff was at Staten Island Cable. And it was, people would say, oh, you have to go. So, people would say you have to go to small markets. I'll tell you, like Iowa and Idaho and these little towns. I was like, they do not want a girl from Jersey in those towns with my accent at the time. And Staten Island, always wanted to be its own, always wanted to defect. Right, to be its own little state. Staten Island's bigger than like 90% of those cities that I was applying to anyway. And Staten Island had its own little cable station because it felt, kind of dissed by the stations like where I work today. What we do cover Staten Island, of course. There's always major stories, and there's a lot of great politicians that come out of there or stories from that. Transportation did a big ferry story yesterday, but they always felt a little dissed back when in the 90s when I first got out of college. So they had their own station, and they did their own news, and they covered their own politics in their own borough. And I was out there with a camera running around chasing deer because the deer had made it over the Driscoll Bridge for the first time. I was doing sports and news there, everything from laying cables to doing, we called it the Fox box because that was the first time we had a little scoreboard. That was the era of the new scoreboard. I would be like updating the score in the truck, and then would run out and do a post-game interview, like after working in the truck for the whole game or laying cables and being dirty. And then I was a sideline reporter. So things like that. So that's what I did to really get on air. So it was Staten Island Cable. And then from there, I was able to get like little gigs. I worked in Bergen County at a cable station as well at the same time. Upgraded a little bit to regional TV. It was called CN8. It was actually a Philadelphia station that had a bureau in New Jersey. So I would cover the Jets and Giants for them and some basketball and a lot of high school sports I did for that station. I used to work with Kevin Burkhardt on that show. Kevin Burkhardt from Fox Sports, of course, he's the lead play-by-play announcer with Tom Brady and the host of MLB on Fox pregame show. Kevin and I worked on the same show, and he had Bergen County and I had Essex County, and we would do high school sports stories on Varsity Sports Zone. So we would call each other up because sometimes they would bleed a little, which towns were in which county and all that stuff. So I was good friends with Kevin from back then. And then from there, I got like a little bit of a break. I was doing WFA and radio. I was doing overnight updates when they had always had the 2020 reports. I was working. I would show up at work at 9 p.m., go on the air from 12 midnight till 6 a.m. Now I wake up at 1:30 a.m. and I'm on. So it doesn't change. 30 years.
Grind.
No, that's why I'm trying to stay awake for this. So I got a big break at CBS 2 in New York City, covered sports there. From there, I went to Boston. So I was there for about a year and a half. And then I got the Boston Red Sox job, worked there for 2 years, and then came back to MSG. And then from MSG, I worked at CBS Sports, did more national sideline reporting, and then got the full-time job here at Fox 5.
Incredible journey. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I was lucky I stayed in the Northeast, though, because I'm a Northeasterner. I would have been a little weird in the Midwest. I don't think it would have worked for Tina.
What a hell of a grind. What a hell of a long way to go. Yeah. Yeah, whatever.
Oh,
So let me ask you
so
a
it's
question,
a
right? So you
really
covered
okay. So this is a
football,
toss up
basketball, right?
because
If they
I
said, all
loved
right,
the
Tina,
flow.
you
So
got
it
one
would be
sport to cover for the rest of
so
your
it,
life.
so
Which one
I'll
you
tell you
picking?
why. It's like you can't. It's like children. You can't love one the most.
Yeah.
So you have reasons for seasons. So
Mm,
I loved the flow of the NBA season, and I love the NBA player. I mean, they are showmen. You know,
yeah.
there's only 5 to 9 that you know on a
Yeah.
team,
No.
Mm-hmm.
and especially in New York when they have short
Uh-huh.
rotations. But they love, they want to be seeing the whole thing. But I love the flow because I would get good stuff at shoot around in the morning, and then just check in before a game, and it just had like a nice flow. Like it was separate from the game, so they were game day, but they weren't game mode. So I would get good stuff. I mean, I remember sitting when Jason Kidd was on the Knicks and Tyson Chandler, and I would sit with them, Amari. I would sit and just chat with them while they were putting their sneakers on, like or taking their sneakers off, to go in the truck and put their flops on. And just talking about, I was like, well, with this coming up and this matchup, and you went to college with this guy. Do you still talk to him? Oh, I heard you hate this guy. Like, like little things like that. Or so is so-and-so really a good rebounder, or was he just lucky? And they would explain things to me. I loved that flow of shoot around on game day. So that's why I love the NBA. What I like about football is, it's one game a week. They don't get sick of you. So now baseball, never
Yeah.
again. Never again.
Yeah.
I mean, I go there when I can, and when your team's in the World Series, it's fun.
Yeah.
But to do it every day,
I can only
why do
imagine.
you want to talk to me? I don't want to talk to you. You just had the game-winning hit, and you were, 4 for 5. I
Yeah.
had 2 home runs. Like, why wouldn't I want to talk to you or something?
Exactly.
Or you just threw a Twitter. Why wouldn't I want to talk to you? Why do you want to talk to me? I don't want to talk to you. Like that's, the baseball players. And there's some good eggs. I mean, I covered David Ortiz. Great egg. I mean, he never said no. He never. I would always. That was their superstar was my go-to player. Usually it isn't like that. Their superstar was my go-to guy. You need soundbite, and then there'd be like, I was like, I'll just go to David. And everybody's like, oh. And he would stop and do his interviews for me. So that's the kind of thing with basketball and the NFL. I mean, I love the flow, but I love college sports. I love college football and college basketball because especially the coaches. I love the coaches. They're always recruiting.
Yeah.
So they're always going to give you a good interview.
Exactly.
The energy, because I cover Army football. Oh my goodness. Jeff Munkin's always recruiting, and you want him to both be, a leader of men for your, and he's recruiting to parents and also kids. So he's like a leader of men sometimes with his answers, with the parents are listening. And then he's just like a great player's fundamental coach for a kid that's thirsty to be a great player. And so I love interviewing. And basketball coaches. I mean, Rick Pitino, a classic every time.
Pitino,
and it's not always about basketball. I mean, and then he'll talk about him and his son watching, I don't know, like, an Arkansas UConn game that has, and, just like little, like the way he talks about the game of basketball and reflects on the past. And then I'll talk about like Italian wine and Italian restaurants mixed in. So, and he's such a New Yorker. We always talk about New York stuff with him. So we can go on a tangent. So, so those are like the main thing. And then I think of my ladies on the Liberty,
Oh, yes.
smartest athletes on the planet.
Yes, yes.
These women, I mean, Brianna Stewart and Asia Wilson. Like I get nervous with them because I'm like, they're so smart. Like and it's not just fundamentals, X's and O's, game planning. Like, yes, they're smart with that stuff, but other things they say about team chemistry, the psychology of something, their way they're approaching something. I mean, those two, when I first met Asia, she just blew me away. I was like this, like I could have just listened to her talk for hours.
Yeah,
So
flying on
good.
the wall.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the thing with those sports. I just, it's like the atmosphere of being in around and why I like them at certain moments. So here's a fun fact. When I got to MSG in 2008, I would
that was
fill
your
in.
first time
So that was when
actually
Liberty was
covering
at the Garden.
the women's,
And I would
the
fill
WNBA?
in as a sideline reporter, or sometimes like the host. I would do a lot of stories on the Liberty because obviously it was the next off season. So I would do stories for an alternate show,
the Garden,
or for their halftime. I would go to practice, do a sit down interview, and then they would run it in their halftime. So I go back with the Liberty. So it was not the first time that I was their sideline reporter. And when they had to move, when they were doing the transformation of the Garden, they had to move to the Prudential Center in Newark. I did a lot of games there. I used to host like their Ring of Honor ceremony. So like even if I wasn't broadcasting the game or if the game was on ESPN, I would go in and do the halftime ceremony and introduce the players that were getting inducted into their particular Ring of Honor or getting some kind of an award. So I have ties back to 2008, but I also remember going to the WNBA All-Star game in the summer of 1997 at the Garden, because I was just broke into the industry. I was working as like a runner, getting sound for a satellite news service. And so I go back to the first year watching the Liberty and the WNBA at Madison Square Garden. Well, early on, at least I got to see it in '97. With Teaspoon.
So
And Kim Hampton
so
and
the season would be from
Becky Hammond,
during those times,
Rebecca Loba. All
the building wasn't always packed. I went to a lot of those games too. It wasn't always packed. Oh, yeah. Who I said?
Oh, you did now. Yeah.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Cause I started watching them when they had Shamika Christian, Lori, I forgot her name, Janelle McCarver and them. So it was Janelle. So it wasn't.
It even got worse. Robbie got worse when they were in Westchester. It was 2 years.
I was there. I went to a game at Westchester too, and I was just looking around there's no way they have these incredible women playing in the shit. It was it was bad. I'm like, come on, man, they got to do better.
Clara Wusai and Joe Tsai, they saved that team. And man, they didn't just save them. Talk about catapult. They are almost $1 billion franchise right now.
Absolutely.
And I cannot wait to see their training facility when I get one more year.
Incredible. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the vibe like? This year was a very trying year for the Libby. Coming up the championship last year, the vibe was coming into the season was high.
So many injuries, but it was never a negative or down
going
vibe.
Towards, heading into the playoffs to where it's been a lot of injuries, a lot of.
They signed Emma Meesseman with a couple weeks left in the season, and then she has these games where she's carrying the team, and then it was always so the problem was who was carrying the team because of a lot of those injuries. So some nights it was Brianna Stewart. Talk about an Iron Woman, and then Sab gets hurt. She was having issues, whether it was her neck or her ankle. She had an ankle injury at the end of the situation, the end of the season. All those, they were missing JJ for a chunk of the season. And that was right when the team sort of took their dip because they had that 9-0 start.
Yeah.
And then they took a little bit of that dip when Jonquel went down. So there was, I guess a lot, there was inconsistencies because of that. Not their fault. Injuries are part of the game.
Yes.
So then you had all these different rotations as well. Talk about not having a consistent starting lineup. And so that, that's kind of what forced them to have that lower seed. You look back though, they played so well against the Aces during the year, but the Aces had that real bad start. And then what happened at the end? Talk about unbelievable. And the true definition of MVP with Asia, the way that she just carried that team through, especially that second half of the season. So that it was never there was a negative or doubtful vibe, I have to say. There were some home losses where we were like, oh, what? They just lost at
what's
home?
going on?
Yeah, what just happened there? So I thought the biggest surprise was them bowing out early in the postseason. But again, the injuries, they didn't have the consistency. They had slow starts, I guess, would be their biggest Achilles heel last year and in the postseason. And it's so tough to dig yourself out of a hole. I don't care what league you're in or who's on your team. That is, especially in basketball. So I think that's kind of what it was. But I'm sorry, it was still a total surprise when Sandy Brondello was let go.
Yeah. Still
total surprise.
Still surprise.
And but when you kind of peel back the layers and you see what Jonathan Cole was looking for, he's looking for I think he's looking for a real analytics type. And that I don't think Sandy was that type of person. She was totally on feel. Who has the hot hand? I know who's hurt. I know who's not. I don't know. I feel and who knows? Maybe she played some players too long. If you go back and look at minutes coming off injuries, things like that. So, so we don't know what went on behind the scenes per se. Doesn't mean she's not a phenomenal coach. She's got the record winningest coach in Liberty history. That taking them not just to the finals twice, but winning that championship, that first championship to get the monkey off their back. So it was still a little surprising. I wish Toronto all the best. And what was super cool is this season, I was walking into the Barclays once, and there was a family of 5, and it was a mom, 2 sisters, and then their daughters. It's a bunch of women, and they were coming in, and they're like, oh, "We're from Toronto. We are so excited about our team. Are you an announcer?" They just knew I was ready. I was like, "Yeah, I'm an announcer for the team." They were like, "We had to come down and watch Liberty because you're, the closest team. We were going to go to Connecticut. Now they're going to Boston." They were all in from Toronto, Canada. It's going to be a great atmosphere up there.
Yeah,
it really
I can only imagine. Yeah, Toronto shows love. Absolutely,
they do. So I'm excited for that team and for Sandy, and that she landed there. Yeah, that's a good point.
Just waiting. They've been craving some women's basketball for a while.
That's what they do. Yes.
Yeah.
Got a whole country behind them. They will be. Right. So speaking on women's basketball, right? We seen let's talk about Angel Reese. We seen her this year. She walked in the the Victoria's Secret Women's
For other things,
fashion show,
yeah.
right?
Opportunities.
Can you
Yeah.
speak on
Love
like
it.
the
So
growth
it's
of
fun. I mean,
women's
and you
sports
go
now,
back,
now
this is
breaking
not
down barriers,
really
now they're
new.
now
It just wasn't
providing opportunity
sustained.
for
I
them
mean,
coming
Lisa
after them,
Leslie,
people coming after
one of
them
the
now.
icons right there
Can you speak
against the
on other
Liberty in
things?
that
Yeah.
first tip-off ever of the WNBA. I mean, she was modeling in her, I mean, she was playing basketball overseas in her off season, but she was known as a model. And she, I mean, just so similar to Angel Reese, like fashion covers, you know, the chic, just the look, everything. And she was not shy about it. I'm going to model. Like that was her
Yep.
thing. And that's how Angel is. But it just didn't have enough players to sustain that. And it was before social media, and this whole, that class with, you know, Angel and Caitlin, you know, it's the social media class, like, right, you know, it was starting before that, but you look at Aaliyah Boston, like this was like, boom, you know, this is where people are tuning in, seeing more highlights. It goes beyond the television ratings because they're seeing it on social media, and then they're going to the TV to watch the entire game. And that's part of the whole growth of this game. And these women are smart. So Angel's a good example. She knows how to market herself. She knows
Yep.
who she wants to be. She's unapologetic. And that's something I love about everything, you know, in the WNBA, in the NWSL right now, are just such a great example. Like women, female athletes, there's done asking permission. They're doing it now.
Absolutely.
And you're seeing the sponsorship, especially when you see like the off-season league in, oh my God, I just drew blank.
Um,
Unrivaled.
Unrivaled.
I just
Unrivaled.
drew, yeah, I'm a
No
little
worries, no
tired.
worries.
I've been
Yeah,
up
yeah.
since 1:30
No
this morning.
worries. It's okay. It's okay.
The sponsors that
Yeah,
they're getting for that league. I
Project
mean,
B,
from Sephora to
Arrival.
Dove, you know, all of these
Arrival.
sponsors for,
Yeah.
and, you know, that cater to women because that's a viewership, and the amount of money they're spending for ad sales. I mean, that's, and we've seen it grow, and the Liberty are very smart with that, with their individual sponsors and Rihanna's makeup line and things like
Yeah,
that.
Fenty. Yeah.
So this is all adding to the growth of sport. It makes young girls, and my favorite part about it is the young boys that I see at
Yeah, Fenty,
games
yeah.
wearing
Mhm.
Sabrina Ionescu's jersey
Yeah.
and wearing Jonquel Jones's jersey and wearing
Yeah.
Brianna Stewart's jersey. It is the coolest thing. And forget about Natasha Cloud. She created a whole new, she's like Peter
Absolutely.
Pan.
Yeah.
And the fan base that she created out of the gate, and she's been showing up at Knicks and Nets games.
Yep.
She is just like the best ball of energy,
Yeah,
most
she
positive
is.
thing I've ever come close to in my entire life. She's the best. So,
Absolutely.
and it goes, and what I love about her, it's not only is she this great player, and she's arguably, you know, should have been an all-star and could have been a six-man, you know, if the Liberty had a little couple better results.
Yeah.
She's someone who just speaks so profoundly on, you know, social justice and equality and things
Yes.
like that. And, you know, catering to those in need and unresourced areas. I mean, she is another one that's brilliant in that. She's well-versed, well-studied, and she goes out and speaks for human rights. And
Absolutely.
it's just so inspiring. And
Yeah.
that, again, that draws in another demographic. So it's these incredibly, like I said, smart, athletic women, whether it's, you know, they're not only are they the best in the world in their sport, but they're smart, whether it's marketing or the way that they speak out on things. You have Brianna Stewart right there with Nafisa Collier, not only with their own league, but kind of leading the fight here in the CBA negotiation. So it's really inspiring, and it draws different people that maybe never thought they would like women's basketball for whatever reason, and like the respect they have. And then they watch a game and they're like, wow, that is some fundamental, fast, athletic stuff that we're watching here. And exciting. And that was another thing, just going back to the vibe around the Liberty this year. In 24, their championship season, yes, on the back end when the playoffs sold out to the rim. But there were some games, you know, of course, the Indiana and the Chicago games were packed, you know, to see the new players, because that's when Caitlin and Angel were rookies. But this year, this 2025, every single night was sold out. Every night was sold out and loud. I have to wear stadium that usually is for when you're in a football stadium with 100,000 people. I had to wear stadium IFB earplugs in order to hear the broadcast. That's how loud Barclays Center is.
Yeah, it'd be electric in that building. Yeah. Yeah. The first question I wanted to ask is, I had actually read that
I know
your interest in sportscasting actually dates back to a trip you had with your family at the Rose Bowl game. So I was gonna ask you, like, do you remember anything about that? What was your experience like being able to witness such a great sport and just being in that moment at such a young age?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I said my family is kind of like life just revolved around sports. So my dad, we went to California on a family vacation, the whole Disneyland thing. I was 10 years old. My sister was 6. And the whole California Disneyland thing, Hollywood, all that stuff. But of course, it was centered around the Rose Parade and the Rose Bowl because my dad loved college football. And then at that time I was learning about it. It was Iowa versus UCLA. We were in the same hotel with a lot of Iowa families, and I was learning all the Iowa players and the numbers. So I knew who to, because I wanted to cheer for them, because then we like met their moms and dads.
Absolutely, yeah.
And their families. And you see the pom-poms, which was really cool. UCLA crushed them, but the home team playing in Pasadena.
Yeah.
But it was just so thrilling, and to just see the whole process of the whole day, and it was all about college football. So that really intrigued me, and I loved just the whole process, and that's what really got me so inspired. And I just loved meeting the people and learning about the players, and then we would get like the roster, and my dad was showing me on the roster and their different positions, like really digging into it. And this was like before I was like a high school cheerleader, and I was like really learning football. I was a 10-year-old girl, and and I was doing my thing. I was in dancing and gymnastics and softball, but so my dad said to me, he's like, when you're looking for a job, when you go to high school and you're looking for what to study, just find something you love to do, and like anything you love to do, and just see what jobs there are that'll pay you for it. So I love to watch sports, and I found a job that'll pay me for it.
That's beautiful. Yeah, it's funny how things come full circle. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, being exposed to it at a young age, and then now you are where you are. So just like there's always so much you can learn from like your past and your journey. So that's super dope. There's another question I wanted to ask. So I know that you're a part of like charities, a lot of foundations and events, and I also read like in 2008, 2009, and 2013, you ran the New York City Marathon for Garden of Dreams Foundation, and how you also visit schools in New York City public schools. So can you talk about like your experience in that space and why foundations and stuff like that are so important to you?
I mean, it just when you see other people's lives too, it gives you perspective, because sometimes we can be in our own little bubble, whether it's your family or your town or even our job. Like, we're in a little bubble here with our, makeup in the middle of the, mornings and this and that on TV. And like, we're kind of like protected, like we could be reading about crime or something bad, but we're sitting here in the studio. But when you go out into the schools, especially in New York City, in the underserved areas, and you realize, oh gosh, these kids can't even afford a basketball, so what are the programs? Or like their parents or their family situation, they can't afford to send them to like classes or to join a team because they can't pay for the equipment or something like that. So New York Edge is one of the organizations that I love working for and supporting, because they provide after school programs, and I love it because it's arts and sports. So as somebody who was a dancer, so I enjoyed both the visual arts and performing arts and sports. So they have different programs in different schools, whether it's dance, singing, theater, and then there's soccer and basketball, and different sports, flag football, that they could play and learn, and it is at no cost, because it's an organization and it's implemented in certain schools with a curriculum, with teachers, and you raise money. That's, you got to raise money for it so that it can support their teachers and their coaches. So it is just such a great space. And then, as far as the New York City Marathon, it was a bucket list item. My dad ran a couple of marathons, so it's something I wanted to do. And I was a track athlete, so it was my sport. So when I got to MSG, I left Boston, came back to New York for the job at MSG, and they always cover the marathon. And one of the producers, who's a good friend of mine now, Melissa Chused, we became friends then. And she was like, so would you ever run the marathon? And we would like cover like your training and like do stories. And she's like, and of course it would be like, we would get you in through our charity. So you would do stories on the charity, and then we would do stories on your training. And I was like, I'm in. Let's do it. It was like the moment I needed, and I ran 3. So it wasn't just that
That's
one.
super dope.
So, and that's the thing. I would go to Ronald McDonald House and meet the kids that we were raising money for, and it just makes you like, oh, if my leg hurts a little bit, you better keep on going, because this kid has sickle cell anemia, and he's got a life expectancy. So, it's just like little things that put it in perspective, and to just be so grateful for your health. So if like you hurt your calf, you can't run for a couple weeks, you'll get better. You hurt your calf, it's not anything serious. So I learned a lot through those experiences. So it was a cool athletic feat to overcome, but it was also like so meaningful. When you have a purpose, it also changes everything. When you're running for something bigger than yourself, or doing something that's bigger than yourself, it gives you a purpose. It humbles you as well, because it's not about you actually, it's you doing it for them. So, and I'll never forget, I think it was 82nd Street on First Avenue. Ronald McDonald House was right there, or maybe like 78th. It was somewhere where it was getting like a little long. Like, oh my God, it's mile 19. And talk about being rejuvenated and coming out of the gate after you see the kids and they have signs for you.
The feeling, absolutely.
It's a lot of hours. I mean, it seems like cute, like you jog like 2 days a week. Okay, you build up from 3 miles to 6 miles, but you have to do a long run every week. And some of those long runs are 20 miles. So that could be up to 4 hours of your day just running. Then you have to, shower and do the recovery afterwards, and then you're shot. You just want to lie down on your couch. So it's a lot. It's a lot if you train properly.
Sheesh.
Yes. And then I would do a lot of
20
races with the
miles.
New York Roadrunners, training races to teach you how to kind of get in a flow, like learn your process, when I want water, when I want to take like those
20
sugar gels
miles.
to keep you going, because you can't eat while you're running. I mean, you can eat maybe bananas. Some people have oranges, but I couldn't. So you take these weird little gels and you have to kind of learn all of that. And I did that by running different races, and you have to get to the race 2 hours early. It's a lot, but it's worth it in the end. Like when everybody says it, nobody regrets. I mean, unless, but when you cross that finish line, you either want to do it again and again and you're addicted. I did it 3 times. I'm good. But I don't regret it. You know what I mean? I don't regret it. It was the 3 of the greatest moments in my life.
That's incredible. It's a lot that comes with it. You got to mentally prepare for that. Yeah.
I mean, but you're running. I mean, the
wanna do it,
people
but
and the buildings,
saying,
and
like,
you're going
5
by
boroughs,
historic
I'm like,
buildings,
nah.
and you're going over bridges.
I
It's
can't
just so
do 5
beautiful and so
boroughs.
inspiring, you
It's
know.
original, yeah.
And you
Nah,
have
I'm
people
good.
cheering for you the whole, whether you run it in 2.5 hours or 7.5 hours. You've got people cheering for you. It's really cool.
Yeah. It's incredible. Now, it's okay. I know she's been up since 1 a.m., so I want to be slight with the questions. I'll stick to 2. Yeah.
You know, Mel?
Appreciate you.
Well,
Absolutely.
I love you guys covering the
Yeah,
WNBA and talk
Of
about
course.
women's college hoops. I mean, it is awesome. The
Tina,
conversation's there. It's what
thank you
people
for
want to talk
blessing
about.
us
And
with
then
our
people like you, the
platform,
more you
with
do
your
it, the more it
presence,
goes mainstream, because we still need it on like talk show radio.
Women's,
I don't,
yeah.
when I would scream in my car when I didn't hear some New York stations like not talking about the Liberty
That's
when they were about
crazy.
to win a championship or back in the playoffs or winning 9
Yeah.
straight games.
Yeah.
Hello.
A long
You know,
way to
these
go.
are world-class athletes. So
Yeah.
thank you guys for doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? All women succeed.
Gotham
Exactly.
FC right
Yeah.
now, getting ready
Yes.
for the
Yeah, we trying to
semifinals.
grow. We trying to grow
Yeah.
to where it's supposed to be. You know, like
Tina.
I mean, we talk about basketball, but we want to see all women in sports.
Yeah, it's that time.
That's
It's that
sports.
time. You know, give them what
Yeah.
they deserve, you know?
All women sports. Yeah, like I just seen
Exactly,
Clarissa
yes,
Shields. Like it
yes.
sound like an $8 million
Yeah.
deal. Like I want to see more of that. You know, but I want to see more of that. You know.
Appreciate you.
Yeah,
Yes.
I want to see Tina sign that $100 million.
That's why you take risks, you know what I'm saying? You got what they say, you got to
saying,
shoot
you know?
to miss, right? So
Well,
you
yeah,
take
but
the
thanks
shot
for
and
like I said,
There you
show
go.
love to
Thank
the
you
platform.
guys.
Thank
Good luck
you.
to you.
I ain't